You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. All right, we got a lot to cover. Don't miss a second of the podcast because we got a lot of things to cover. A lot of craziness has been going on. Now, there's a new poll out today I want to go through first because this is some important stuff. Donald Trump would beat Joe Biden if the election were held right now. This is a new poll. It's just come out. New findings in a Harvard-Harris poll just released show that President Trump would beat Biden in a head-to-head matchup by 5 points. The new findings also show Vivek Ramaswamy is hot on the heels of Ron DeSantis, who has shot up 8 points in the polls and is only 2 points behind DeSantis. Now, remember, that's within the margin of error, so he could actually be ahead of Ron DeSantis by like 4 or 5 points. Trump would also beat Kamala Harris if she were running head-to-head against Trump.
I could beat Kamala Harris.
Well, yeah.
She's pretty easy to beat.
But no. But the
Biden's significant for sure.
They're both significant because what the media want you to think and what the Uniparty want you to think is that everyone hates Trump.
Right.
And the reality is that not only is Trump very popular, there's a huge demand for him to be back in the White House because things are going so poorly in the country right now.
Yeah. Plus, that's why these hearings are important. These hearings about Biden and the bribery and all this, and people get upset. Well, he's not going to jail, but look, it's affecting the polls. That has got to be having a direct effect, and it mainly affects people that are independent or people that are more moderate Democrats. And they see that, and I still have faith in the American people. I know things are crazy, but I think most people don't want a president who takes bribes.
Yeah.
Call me nuts, but it's swaying the polls, and I think it's going to sway them even more. I don't think that the hearings that Trump goes through are going to swing the needle against him, just the opposite. But Biden, all this stuff coming out, and if they impeach him or have a special counsel, which they should, it's really going to be not good for him.
Well, yeah, and one of the reasons Trump's doing well in the polls is what all these indictments, people are pretty ticked off about that. But the other thing is that things are so expensive in this country today and tough, and people remember how good it was when Trump was in the White House, and they want that back. People know. Before Trump was even talking about running for president back in 2011, he was very popular in the country, and he was Joe Cool because everybody respected Donald Trump because he was successful. And even though he was born into a wealthy family, he made himself a billionaire, and he had a lot of respect. And people know that when it comes to finances and the economy, he knows what he's talking about because we lived through think about how great the economy was doing with all the COVID lockdowns, when the world was shut down, he still kept us going.
The economy was doing better during COVID than it is now, but you'll see people on the news, and I've seen clips on Twitter, you still, even to today and yesterday, you'll see people that are liberal, even some conservatives telling you how great the economy is, but they obviously haven't been to a supermarket. I mean, I do all the grocery shopping, and Brian gets the gas in the car, so he keeps track of that.
Oh, I hate getting gas.
But, you guys that do the grocery shopping, you know what's up. I mean, there are things that are triple what they were even during COVID, and definitely when Trump was around. That affects people, but this is how out of touch these people are. And it doesn't matter how many times they tell you how great the economy is or how slow inflation is. What you're seeing at home in your own bank account says the opposite. And it's this thing where they say, don't believe your own eyes, just believe what I tell you.
Believe your lying eyes.
Yeah, they're lying. So, but we know the truth. You vote your wallet, and that's true. And that's really going to hurt because I haven't seen the price of food go down at all. I mean, lunch meat, forget it. Okay, I used to get a pound of boar's head, right? Because I like the better lunch meat. a pound of like boar's head ham would be like $12 when Trump was around, which is, not cheap, but it's okay. Now it's like $18. So I get a half a pound, or I get the Publix brand now. Everything is like that. It's double or triple or a third higher. And that adds up.
We're lucky that it's just the two of us because our daughter's grown up and moved out.
That's true.
People that have families are really super struggling in the country today. And Biden doesn't care. All he cares about is getting his bribe money from Burisma, his 10% for every crooked deal, the 10% he's getting off of this proxy war in Ukraine. He doesn't care about people suffering. And I think people realize that. I'll tell you another thing, too.
Plus all the money he's giving to the Ukraine.
Biden is so – that pisses people off. The money going to Ukraine is pissing people off because we're struggling here.
Absolutely.
And –
And to the illegals.
Oh, yeah.
And people that are really struggling, that are on food stamps or welfare or living on a fixed income, that are having trouble paying for their medications. Yeah. That really upsets them, and it should.
And it's also scary to people.
Yes,
looking how checked out he is. You see how checked out he is. I was talking about this on one of my live streams a few days ago. After this cocaine scandal, they've cracked down on the cocaine. We saw Biden with the Israelis. He was totally checked out. That's like Biden without cocaine, right? We were talking about that last week.
Yeah.
He's getting worse and worse. This thing they're doing now, they've been doing this for a couple weeks on Air Force One, where they're using this lower door on the bottom of the plane so he doesn't have to walk up the normal steps that every president has walked up since we've had Air Force One.
Crazy.
And because he can't do it. And that's scary to people. He's just feeble. And it's if the economy were doing well and people weren't struggling, it would be a whole nother ball game. Mm-hmm. People would be like, that's, I don't care. That's fine. We're doing well. There's an old saying, you don't hear it anymore because it doesn't fit the media narrative. People vote their pocketbook.
Absolutely.
And no matter how bad a president is, like Clinton,
it's the economy.
Clinton was abusing women and having affairs, and people looked over that. Because we had that tech boom with the internet took off.
Right.
The economy was doing so well.
He balanced the budget.
Yeah, the economy was doing so well during Clinton's time. Yeah. That's why he got away with all his scandalous behavior. Biden, the whole country's a wreck. Yep. The southern border is open. The country's being invaded. There's a fentanyl crisis going on. Yep. They're giving boatloads of money to Ukraine. They're getting us involved in a war, and things are so expensive. People can't afford.
Not to mention all these social issues, the trans issue, men in sports. Yeah. Those things don't necessarily affect your wallet, but they could affect your family. If you have kids that play sports, if you have a daughter who's on a soccer team or a swim team, and you got to worry about, what if some guy decides I can't make it against the guys, I'm going to put a wig on or grow my hair, and I'm going to be some pervert in the locker room. I mean, those social things and all that kind of stuff. Also, the radicalization of the left.
And I want you guys to think about this, okay? I want you guys to think about this. We have 100% concrete proof with lots of evidence and multiple eyewitness testimony that Joe Biden took a $10 million bribe from Burisma, that all that Burisma stuff is true. He took a $10 million bribe. We had the whistleblowers this week. They've got the FBI documents from their investigation.
I think the guy that bribed him also corroborated the oligarch that did it.
There's, yes.
He came out and said it
Yes,
happened.
He did. They've got this FBI informant who's good. And people may not remember, but one of Trump's impeachments was over that phone call with Zelensky. Yeah. And what got him impeached was he asked Zelensky about Biden taking a bribe. So this is what I don't understand. Kevin McCarthy, I've called him for a long time, the Judas of Mar-a-Lago. I don't trust Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy needs to stand up and impeach Biden. Biden should be arrested. Why was President Trump impeached for asking about Biden's bribes?
It's crazy.
But Biden, we got evidence now that he took the bribe. And he's not impeached. He's not arrested. He's not in any trouble. But Trump got impeached for just asking about the bribe, that we have evidence that Biden took the $10 million bribe. Now, that makes no sense.
It's happening for the same reason that people are upset over Jason Aldean's song as opposed to being upset over the destruction that happened that he sang about.
Exactly.
Same reason. A double standard of justice. If you're a liberal, you get away with everything. And if you're a conservative, you walk on the wrong side of the road and they want to throw you in jail.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
No, that's right. I mean, and this thing with Biden with the $10 million bribe, I don't think people realize how dangerous that is. If you think that's the only bribe he's ever taken,
no.
And I was talking on my live stream about this over the weekend, that he took the bribe from the Ukrainians, $10 million. Out of every country in the world, there's hundreds of countries in the world. I don't know how many countries there are now, but there's hundreds of countries in the world now, hundreds. Out of every country in the world, we just happen to be financing a war with the country that bribed him.
Exactly.
Has anyone asked the question, maybe we're in this war because Joe Biden was bribed to get us into this war?
Or has any reporter... Maybe Miranda Devine's doing this. Has any reporter looked to see if there is some kind of a connection? I mean, the guy that bribed him is talking.
Exactly.
Interview him. Go to the Ukraine and talk to these people, because I have a feeling they're willing to talk.
There's something going on here.
They got nothing to lose.
And it's very dangerous. If you think about it, Joe Biden is the sitting president of the United States. Yeah. And obviously it's questionable who's really running the country, right? Is it Jill? There's some new reporting out in the last couple of days that says that Joe Biden's sister is running everything. She's run all of his campaign since his first run, back in the 70s. She's run every campaign, and they say he always goes to her for a major decision. So who knows?
Wonderful. At least he doesn't go to Hunter.
But when she's no better. She's
I don't know. She's got to be a little bit better.
No, if she's been running all of his campaigns his whole career, she's involved in all his corruption. So, if you have a president that takes bribes, which we know 100% for a fact he does, what else is he being bribed to do?
Well, it's sickening that the Republicans are not impeaching him over this, but they allowed Donald Trump to be impeached for just asking about this. Our government is on a whole other level of corruption that I never, ever thought would happen. And the reason this is happening, one of the main reasons is they want to stop Trump. If Trump was not in the mix, I think the Republicans would go after Biden. I think they would hold his feet to the fire and do whatever they had to do.
Maybe.
But they are desperate. They're making a lot of bad decisions, and they are desperate to keep Trump out of the White House again. And they feel that if they protect Biden, that will help do that, because who else can they put in there at this late in the game? Mm-hmm. So he's being protected by both sides, because both sides are working together to keep Trump out of the White House. Don't you think if Trump was not in the mix at all politically, that they would be, I think they'd be going after Biden over this, and they'd be impeaching him over this, but they're not. They're all protecting him.
There's something going on that I don't think I can really put the finger on it. All this information that's coming out about Biden's bribery crimes, this came out through the FBI. The FBI let this stuff out for some reason.
Exactly.
I don't know what game
strange.
They're running. They're trying to get Biden out of running for some reason. I don't know exactly what their long game is on that.
Happen.
But I want you guys that are listening to the program right now to let me know in the comments, why was President Trump impeached for asking about Biden's bribes, but Biden has not been impeached for taking the $10 million bribe? That just it's
we
insane.
Live in bizarro world.
Well, I don't think people have really put two and two together like that. I don't think it's really occurred to be. And the impeachment I'm talking about is the one with Vindman. That phone call he asked about the bribe. That's a crime, but taking the bribe's not a crime?
Well, what happened there, obviously, when he asked, obviously they got nervous because he was onto something.
Yeah.
And they were trying to avoid all of these attacks on Trump. A lot of them are to avoid the truth about what they're doing coming out. They jam him up, and then he's busy with that and dealing with that. And so when he asked that question, I think they were listening and they got really nervous.
Yeah.
Like, well, we don't need this to come out. He hit too close to home.
I think so. Now, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the program, a way to do that is to become a patron, and you can do that by clicking the Patreon link that's in the episode description on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's YouTube or one of the podcast platforms. There's a link in the description to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. And Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of all of our podcast episodes, plus you're supporting all the content. And also our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every podcast episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P, Carlos, Paulette, John, Arctic Fox, David, Richard, and Melissa. These are our top
and Heather.
Patreon supporters. And Heather, who's our newest
That's right.
top Patreon supporter, welcome to the mix. And again, if you'd like to become a patron, there's a link to our Patreon page in the description of this episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And also on my website, there's a link, briancraigshow.com.
Are you craving the taste of fresh organic greens in the comfort of your own home? Look no further than Braga Farms, a family-run urban farm in the heart of Dallas-Fort Worth that brings the farm-to-table experience to your doorstep. Growing over 45 different varieties of fruits and vegetables in the most natural and wholesome way possible, Braga Farms has made urban homesteading dreams come true. Experience the highest quality greens with Braga Farms' Amazon Prime collection. You'll discover a wide range of expertly curated farming and gardening products that make it easy for you to grow farm fresh food right where you are. The collection is carefully selected to increase productivity and bring ease to your life. Start your journey back to the land with Braga Farms. Braga Farms can be found at the downtown Dallas Farmers Market every Saturday and Sunday. If you're in town, be sure to stop by and say hi. With a deep appreciation for the land and a passion for helping others, Braga Farms has helped dozens of starting farmers, and they're there for you too. Embrace the farm to table experience and enjoy the highest quality greens today. Visit BragaFarmsDFW.com and redefine what it means to eat local. BragaFarmsDFW.com. Robert Allen Miltenberg invites you to time travel with him to the Roman future. His new novella, available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. It's the golden age of Rome, a time of peace and prosperity. And Scadius Commodius Lavatorius is its greatest scientist. But for all he's achieved, one question haunts him. Will Rome survive the test of time? There's only one way to find out. Come along on this cosmic romp of an adventure. See if you can read the signs any better than a brilliant scientist can. Prediction, science fiction, allegory, national glory. This is a satire at its most gladiatorial. Center stage in the Circus Maximus of your mind. A story of time machines and timeless politics, strange Roman cuisine and gambling parlor tricks, spinning gold and crossing the river Styx. That's the Roman future. Available on Kindle and paperback. Go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble now and visit The Roman Future by Robert Allen Miltenberg today. Introducing LawMate.ai, your 24/7 AI-powered legal assistant. With LawMate.ai, get affordable and accessible legal information tailored to your needs in multiple languages. No more confusion or high cost. LawMate.ai is here to guide you through a wide range of legal issues anytime, anywhere. Are you ready to experience seamless legal help? Visit LawMate.ai today and revolutionize the way you access legal information. LawMate.ai.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. So Vivek Ramaswamy is starting to beat DeSantis in some polls, and Fox News today went after Ramaswamy. We're going to get to that in a little bit because Fox News is just so in with DeSantis. And there's been a new story that's broken about DeSantis that is very scary. And I know a lot of people keep telling me, all these trolls, well, you used to be a big supporter of DeSantis. Well, yeah, so was Donald Trump. We didn't know what he was all about, and we're learning about the real DeSantis now for the first time. And this story is really frightening and tells you the types of people that he has behind him. Now, there's a big urban legend about Ron DeSantis that he was a Navy SEAL. He was not a Navy SEAL. He was an attorney in the Navy, a JAG officer and an attorney in the Navy. And he was attached to a SEAL unit as their legal advisor before they took action. He was in the combat zone and all that, but he was not a Navy SEAL. But something has come out about Ron DeSantis that shows how connected this guy is, because he pulled something that no other Republican I've ever heard of has been able to pull, okay? Now, he also was stationed for a while at Guantanamo Bay at a very particular time when the al-Qaeda terrorists at Guantanamo Bay staged a hunger strike. It was a very big deal at Guantanamo Bay, big high-profile thing. And Vice had made a documentary about Ron DeSantis' time at Guantanamo Bay, including interviews with detainees and military personnel who served there. Okay, listen to this. A Vice film was axed a day after Ron DeSantis announced he was running for president. Vice pulled a documentary probing claims that Ron DeSantis authorized forced feeding while in Guantanamo Bay out of fear that the governor would retaliate. The film, called The Guantanamo Candidate, examines claims that while DeSantis was a legal advisor to the Navy in 2006, he advised military officials on how to carry out forced feeding on prisoners who had been on a hunger strike. Now, on the face of it, that's not a bad thing. I mean, these al-Qaeda terrorists in Guantanamo Bay were staging a hunger strike. They can't have them starve to death. They're under U.S. custody. The United States is responsible, for them. He's the legal advisor there. So it's not a bad thing that he did that if it's true. But I'll tell you why this is a scary thing. The documentary was meant to come out on May 28th as part of a Vice docuseries that airs on Showtime, but was reportedly pulled on May 25th, a day after DeSantis announced he was running for president. It also came just weeks after Vice declared bankruptcy, which is unrelated to this. The controversial practice of force feeding was declared to be a form of torture by the United Nations in February 2006. So there you go. Just 1 month before DeSantis arrived in Guantanamo Bay and served there for a year. So they have DeSantis authorizing what the United Nations declares to be torture. Now, again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with force feeding these al-Qaeda prisoners. They're lucky they get fed at all, quite frankly, after what they've done. But you got to treat prisoners humanely. A script of the 30-minute film that has been viewed by the Daily Beast indicates it was hosted by Seb Walker, who's a Vice reporter, who performed multiple interviews with people who were at Gitmo at the time. The first was a prisoner who was recounted how DeSantis watched and laughed as he was force-fed via a tube in his nose during a hunger strike. That's pretty intense. DeSantis has been reluctant to discuss the allegations, but was asked about them at a press conference in Jerusalem. The governor denied the claims and challenged the prisoner's ability to remember his face. He says that's all BS, total BS, DeSantis said. And it goes on.
Well, he said he was a junior officer, and he said there's no way they would remember me because there were a lot of people there. And he said he was just a junior officer. He wasn't in command. He wasn't giving the orders. So to hold him responsible is ridiculous for whatever happened there. He wasn't in command. He was just,
Well, this is what scares me, Kathy. This is what scares me.
Yeah.
I don't care that they were force-fed and that if he authorized it, that's all fine. There's nothing about that.
Yeah.
That's a negative to me.
But, I mean, what are they supposed to do if they're starving themselves?
Exactly.
It's not like they're not letting them eat.
Yeah, because
that would be different. They're refusing to eat, so they have to take extreme measures because they're doing something extreme. And you're right; they can't let them starve to death. So they've gave them a choice, and they chose not to eat, and that this was the other alternative.
Exactly. But if they starve to death and die, then we'd be in trouble.
Well, that's what they wanted.
But here's what's disturbing about DeSantis. This is what's scary about DeSantis. Yeah. That DeSantis and whoever is behind him, the Koch brothers, Karl Rove, the Bush family, that they were able to get Vice to pull this documentary and to protect DeSantis. And I think the reason they did that is this. They don't want him branded a war criminal, which is where this would go, because the United Nations said that you're not allowed to do that. It's a form of torture that would make him a war criminal. And they are constantly, the Fox News crowd and all the Bush crowd, the Never Trumpers, they want to have DeSantis up on this pedestal that he's better than Trump and all these things. Yeah. And they somehow they got this documentary pulled. And to me, that's frightening. The media love to slander Republicans. Okay, when have you heard of the media pulling a story that made a Republican look bad? Right?
Yeah, never.
No, never. It never happens. So the very fact that DeSantis and the people behind him were able to do that tells you how dangerous he is. That they're covering up for him. They have the media, the liberal media, covering up for him. So then, we were talking in the first segment, and over the weekend, some new polls have come out that show Vivek Ramaswamy beating DeSantis in some polls. Fox News all of a sudden is turning on Vivek Ramaswamy. They've loved Ramaswamy. In fact, the first time I heard Ramaswamy was on Fox. Yeah.
Now he's a threat, though, to – do you think he could be a dark horse in this race?
No.
At all? Do you think there's any possibility that – well, it's really up to the people. It's not up to us. But do you we're only two of the people. But do you think that it's possible anywhere that he could get close to Trump?
No.
He's a very good communicator, and he says a lot of things a lot of people like that are on the right.
But Kathy, he's still, even though he's in second place, he's still like 40, 50 points behind Trump.
Yeah, but he's gaining in popularity.
We know nothing about this guy. I know he says all the right things. I got up close to him at that Turning Point event last week, and I saw him speak, and he's impressive, and he's got all that. But you don't know anything about this guy, and I think a lot of people feel the way I feel. That's why his numbers are still so low. The reason that he's coming up is because DeSantis is falling. I don't think Ramaswamy's rising.
So the people from DeSantis. Well, this is what's concerning. The people from DeSantis are going to him, possibly.
No, he's
and not going to Trump. You don't think so?
Well, the people. There's two types of Republicans, right? There's Trump supporters, and then there's Never Trumpers.
Right. So the Never Trumpers are going to him.
The Never Trumper pool is a small pool, and it's spread among DeSantis, Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and all these others. There's another poll I saw today that has Nikki Haley in second place. Okay, so they're just shuffling around this small pool of Never Trumpers, but I wouldn't say that Ramaswamy is rising. It's more that DeSantis is falling.
Is what I'm saying. Going on. DeSantis' supporters are going to him,
and Nikki Haley.
These are not Trump supporters going to Vivek.
Correct.
These are more DeSantis people. I wonder what it is. I think with DeSantis, he's. There's videos of him online making weird. He's awkward, which is strange because he presents himself as such a cool, happening, hip, handsome guy, and he's really awkward on interviews. But I wonder what it is about him.
Who? Which one?
DeSantis. That turns people off. Is it just his disloyalty to Trump? Are people meeting him and not impressed by him? Does he not have that charisma factor? Vivek is very charismatic. He's extremely confident. He comes out and he has total confidence in what he says, and he's a very good messenger. And Trump too. Same thing. I wonder what it is about DeSantis.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Other than the disloyalty that is turning people off, because he on paper he should be.
I'll tell you exactly what it is. Tell you exactly what Kathy's all choked up.
He should be doing better. Yeah, I'm getting all upset here.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not talking about the betrayal of Trump and MAGA. That's already affected him. Why is he continuing to fall with the Never Trumpers? There's a couple reasons. I want to play a clip for you, okay, that I was going to play later, but I'll play it now. This is one reason, and then there's another reason, okay? One reason is he's not likable and weird in person. Right. Let me just play this clip. This is a reporter in Utah asking him about the polls, DeSantis, over the weekend.
Utah today, your poll numbers behind President Trump have been pretty substantially behind. And not here.
Okay, and you hear that? He did that weird laugh thing that he does and got that weird expression on his face.
Yeah.
And he's weird. And not here. Well, he's performing better in Utah. That's where Mitt Romney is running things. Okay, so the Utah Republicans that are controlled by Mitt Romney having polling well.
By the time you get to Utah during the primary with the Electoral College, it's a done deal by the time you get out west. You know what I mean?
So there's two reasons why he's falling in the polls, other than the betrayal, because like I said, that's already baked into his polls. Okay, that's why he's so low anyway. So the one reason is he's weird.
Yeah, he's a little weird.
Like this, he's really weird, and I think that freaks people out. But the other thing, I've been telling people this, is he is short. Now, this is
You've always said that.
This is a very important thing. Okay. There has not been a president in the modern era under 5'11", okay? And that was Ronald Reagan, and he used to be over 6 foot, but he shrunk because he was an older guy. There really has not been a president under 6 foot, and don't Google it because Google's filled with lies about this, okay? There's not been a president, and I count Ronald Reagan as 6 foot because he was 70 when he got elected at 5. There's not been and there's a reason for that. When they do these debates on television, and they go out there against a tall candidate, and they're short, they look ridiculous, like Dukakis when he ran for president.
So you think maybe people are meeting him, seeing him in person? Clearly, when he's going to Iowa and New Hampshire, he's not impressing
Let me tell you this, okay? Yes, I think people are shocked at his height.
Yeah,
now, I'm not tall, okay? I'm 5'7", okay? Ron DeSantis is my height, but he wears heels. He wears cowboy boots with high heels on them to make himself taller. So I'm not exactly sure how tall he is. And you guys, when this happened to me, this is before we knew that he was fake MAGA, okay? And you've heard me talk. I got invited to a private fundraiser that I didn't have to pay for with Ron DeSantis. And when it was a $500 a person fundraiser, I got in for free. I don't want people to think I'm paying for stuff like that. I got in for free, but it was $500 a person. And when DeSantis came in, everyone stood up. And I had a very good spot because the person putting the fundraiser on put me in a good spot so I could meet him. This is before the betrayal, and we still thought he was MAGA. It's when he was running for re-election as governor just a week or two before the election. And everybody stood up, and then everybody lifts their phones up because they're trying to take pictures. And I was making a YouTube video, and I heard DeSantis speak. He was speaking on a microphone, and I heard him with his real voice because I was so close. I wasn't here. I could hear the speakers, but I could also hear his real voice because I could tell he was I was really close to him, and I couldn't find him. And I'm like, where? And I'm thinking, where is he? And I was looking too high. Yeah. And I'm not kidding. I'm not making fun.
You had your camera too high.
I had my camera too high and my head too high. And I put my head down, and he was right in front of me. I couldn't believe it. I was looking like above his head. I was in shock. Now again,
I remember when that happened. The first thing you said to me, you called me and you said, "You're not going to believe these." You said he is a lot shorter than people think.
Yes.
You said he is not impressive in person.
And he wears the heels.
And he's lost a lot of weight, which also makes him look smaller.
He looks weirder with the
And I think his weird laugh and his awkwardness. I think he's a serious guy who's like a very serious guy, and he's trying to be funny and force a laugh to relate to people. Like Hillary tried to relate to people, and I think that it's forced. It's not natural.
That's right.
And you don't see Trump laugh that much, but he has a good sense of humor. You know what I mean? He cracks
jokes. But DeSantis does this weird.
But DeSantis, no. But what I'm saying is, Trump doesn't force a laugh and try to look like he's laughing. He's the kind of guy who tells a funny joke, everybody else laughs.
That's right.
And he's like Harrison Ford. He just kind of sits there. But DeSantis and lets everybody laugh. But you don't see Trump laugh too much.
So what happens?
DeSantis tries this fake laugh.
So what happens when people? And again, I could be totally wrong about this. No one else talks about the height, and I always do the disclaimer that I'm only 5'7". But I told you guys when I saw him before this time, but this last time when I saw his height was the only time that I saw him and he wasn't on a stage. The other times I saw him, he was on a stage.
Yeah, you saw him like walking through the crowd.
I was as close to him as I am to you, Kathy. I was like right in front of him. And I'd never been that close to him at the same level. He was always on a stage, so I was looking at him. And I think what happens when people see him is two things. First, they're in shock at how short he is. I think that's a big shock to people.
I think so.
Because you see him as a macho guy. And I think people tell that to everybody. When I saw that, When I saw his
not
height,
good.
I called you. I said, Kathy, you're not going to believe this.
It's like a disappointment in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I don't know why that is.
And I told people no one's been president of 6 foot. And then, so I think when people are seeing him in Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire, first the initial shock is his height, and that they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then they see his personality, which is weird, like this weird laughter
clearly
thing.
not connecting with people.
He's a dork,
Yeah, I
a
guess
short
so.
dork, but he's about my height. He and I are about the same height.
Yeah.
But I'm not running for president.
Right.
You understand? I'm just trying to be like the number one
And
podcasting
Brian
YouTuber.
has never worn high heels.
I do not wear high heels. I wear flats. I wear Vans.
Yeah. And DeSantis wears cowboy boots with like a 2 or 3 inch heel.
Sometimes I wear my Doc Martens, and I'm like, I don't want people because I like Doc Martens, because I'm like old time guy. I wear Vans and Doc Martens all the time, and I don't want people to think that when I'm wearing Doc Martens, I'm like pulling a Tom Cruise or a Ron DeSantis trying to make. So I just like Docs.
I know people that have met Tom Cruise. We knew somebody that worked with Tom Cruise
Yeah, on a movie
in Hollywood, and a stuntman we used to know, and they said he was very, very, very nice, but little.
Yeah.
They said people are shocked how little he is. And he's thin and like 5'6", and they're like, they are really surprised.
Yeah,
That's the first thing they always
So that's
notice.
what's happening to DeSantis. They're in shock about his height, and then they see his personality, which is weird and awkward. And if you
Something's
notice
going on, they don't like him.
in these early primary states, Iowa and New Hampshire, South Carolina, they're meeting these people. That's why Trump's doing small venues, and that's what's going on.
And it's not his politics. His politics are pretty conservative.
Same as
pretty
Trump's,
pretty in line with Trump. But I think it's the double factor, maybe the height too. But I think it's the disloyalty to Trump. And I think because Trump's really driven that home, and it really does resonate with people. I think it's his awkwardness when you meet him, and his disassociation, his disconnection with people, the awkward laugh, the weird looks. I think they just see him as strange.
He is,
and then
because
maybe
he
the
is.
height doesn't help.
Because he is. So I want to play this clip. This is Shannon Bream on Fox, and she was interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy today. And since he's now ahead in some polls against DeSantis, all of a sudden Fox is turning on Ramaswamy. I just play a little bit of this. This is Shannon Bream, and this is Vivek today.
So why are you and the other candidates now so quick to defend him? Are you worried about...
Now, the him she's talking about is Trump. She said she's accusing him of defending Trump.
So why are you and the other candidates now so quick to defend him? Are you worried about the punchback you would take for him if you're actually critical of that behavior now?
To the contrary, Shannon, I've been consistent all along that I would have made different judgments than Donald Trump made.
Okay, it goes on and on about, him saying nothing. But the reason I shared this is a big pivot over on Fox that they're accusing Ramaswamy of being a sellout to his supporters.
No, he's been consistent on it all. That's for sure from the very beginning.
Yeah, Ramaswamy is one of those guys. I don't think he thinks he's going to be president. People run, and he's already rich, very rich.
I don't know about that.
People that are running for president at these low levels, they run for a few reasons. Some of them it's ego. Some of them do it for money. Okay, like Pence. And some of them do it to elevate themselves. And I think Ramaswamy's trying to have a seat at the table and of where decisions are made, and he's trying to elevate himself to be there.
Do you think Trump will choose him as his VP? Because now people are
I don't
talking
know.
about that.
I don't think so, unless something changes, because this vice presidential pick is the most important one that any president in any of our lifetimes has picked, because President Trump only has one term left to him. So whoever he picks is going to be the president after him.
I think it would be smart for him to not choose a D.C. person, a politician.
Yeah.
Because that didn't work well for him. And
No, it
I
didn't.
think he's going to go into this with a very different perspective. And he's even talked about that how he didn't know, a lot of people in Washington, but now he does. He knows who to trust and who not to trust. And I think it would be better for him to choose someone who is not an insider in D.C. He needs somebody who's like him, a businessman from the outside, because he can't trust anybody in the swamp. They're all part of the swamp. Even Jim Jordan, who refuses to say he wants to impeach Biden, when push comes to shove, a lot of these people that get on TV and say one thing, the actions don't come, just the words. So I don't think he can trust anyone, other than Marjorie Taylor Greene or maybe Byron Donalds. Very, very few people can he trust And even that, things can change. But a businessman from the outside maybe would be better for him.
Well, listen, we're going to take our last break. Don't go anywhere, okay? We're going to come back. We got a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
In the new book from author John Meldum, Pangea, available on Amazon, meet Richard. He's an American who recently embarked on a new life in London. His biggest worry? Surviving and paying his bills on a meager salary. Little did he know, his world was about to change forever. An invasion of unknown alien forces shakes the earth. It was just the beginning. Drawn into a whirlpool of galactic politics, he finds himself in a web of intrigue where secrets are hidden and betrayal is just a step away. Will he rise to the challenges that lie ahead? Or will his name be forgotten in the annals of history, alongside countless others? Find out when you read Pangea, a science fiction detective novel from author John Meldum, available on Amazon. Order your copy right now and transport yourself to a future where humanity's wildest dreams have come true and choices must be made. Pangea, from author John Meldum, on Amazon. Are you dreaming of having a tiny home? Look no further than Oasis Engineering on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/Oasis Engineering. There you will find a wide range of offerings, including tiny home plans, a sustainable living guide, budget tools, and so much more. Oasis Engineering specializes in providing high-quality engineering plans, ebooks, and cost estimating guides that empower individuals just like you worldwide to DIY and build their own tiny home. Their resources are designed to make the process accessible, affordable, and enjoyable for aspiring tiny home owners. Let Oasis Engineering help you create your dream sustainable tiny home. Visit their Etsy shop right now, etsy.com/shop/Oasis Engineering. Make sure to share the link on all your social media so your friends can discover Oasis Engineering too. Etsy.com/shop/Oasis Engineering. Etsy.com/shop/Oasis Engineering. It's summertime, and that means fun in the sun. But to complete your summer look, you need new, cool, and stylish sunglasses. And that's what you will find at woodywear.com. That's WOODEE wear.com. Woodywear.com is a premium eco-friendly fashion brand specializing in bamboo sunglasses and apparel. Woodywear.com's story is rooted in a deep passion for fashion, sustainability, and environmental conservation. They believe in reducing our carbon footprint without compromising style. The sunglasses at woodywear.com are made from bamboo, a sustainable material that grows faster than trees. It requires less water and pesticides while reducing carbon dioxide emissions. Not only that, bamboo sunglasses are lightweight, hypoallergenic, and sturdy. Each pair of sunglasses is meticulously handmade with precision and care. The designs come in a variety of colors, sizes, and styles, so there's something to fit everyone's personal taste. Elevate your summer style with woodywear.com, where you will find a collection of eco-friendly sunglasses that make a statement. Be fashionable, be conscious, be you. woodywear.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. You know, Steven Crowder, I have never seen a guy get so self-destructive, other than Ron DeSantis betraying Trump, but I've never seen someone in the media have so many self-destructive things happen to them. You know, there have been people that have damaged themselves, like Glenn Beck when he was an ever-Trumper, but Steven Crowder has had a series of things, right? And there's a third one. There's a new scandal out about Steven Crowder. And the first one was when the Daily Wire made him that a $12 million offer, and he recorded the conversation of the guy, and he played the conversation, and then he turned it. It was so weird and bizarre. And then his divorce, and then his wife released some video of them.
Have you ever recorded a conversation?
No.
I have never recorded a conversation.
Never.
I think that's such a...
Never.
To me, when you record people, either a private conversation or record them out in public, to me, that is such an aggressive and move and such a horrible, unless something really bad is happening in public where you're like, I got to get this on video. like a crime or something. But if it's like just everyday stuff, and then recording people in a conversation, especially without their knowledge.
I take that. Now, I did not do this. I had a listener who was a stalker where the police were involved, and the person had made some phone calls, and the police had me make a phone call that the police recorded to identify their voice. Because it was someone
privately recorded.
Because somebody who had called me on the air and they wanted me to do. It was kind of like a lineup, but it was a voice lineup. But that was the police. I've never recorded anyone.
No, me either.
And I wouldn't even know how to do that. You would have to have like some special app or device.
No, your phone can record.
Can it?
Yeah, you got a recorder on your phone.
It can record phone calls.
No, but conversations and recording a phone call.
Oh, you mean like yes. Like a lot of times people have their phone on record on memo and then they go put it in their pocket.
I don't know how you record a phone call unless you have the phone on speaker and you're recording it with another device. Yeah. That might be how they do it. I don't know how you record like a phone call from your phone. Maybe there's a way to do that. I don't know. I've never recorded a conversation ever.
It's a real low-life thing to do. When Steven Crowder did that, I thought that was so that was, to me, I was done with the guy. I find that such a betrayal.
Yeah.
You know, one thing people do that I don't like is they keep text messages. That's why
I was just thinking that.
That's why, you guys, I know some of you have my number and I text, and sometimes people think I'm being rude because I'm so short with my text. I've had people that I have sent text messages to, just minor things, and they keep the text for years.
To me, that's strange. And then they send you screenshots,
and they show people like, "Oh, look, Brian." I'm not talking about myself in the third person. This is what they say. They go to people like, "Oh, yeah, look, Brian Craig texted me," and then they'll show a text that might be 5 years old.
Yeah,
like I'm in communication with them, and I find that really creepy.
I do too.
When people do. And so when you see stories all the time in the news of people taking, like you said, screenshots of text messages, and I don't like to put anything in writing because it's not that I'm writing anything that's wrong or bad, but in writing you can lose context.
Absolutely, and these days people will, if you send a text or if you post a comment or do on Twitter or anything. People will take a screenshot. Like and I haven't had this happen to me, or I don't think it's happened to you, but I've seen it happen where somebody will tweet something and then they delete it. Well, people will take screenshots of that tweet, even if it's only up there for 30 seconds, and then they'll post the tweet. Like you might